Thank you for your patience. My name is Camille Vavares. I'm the director of the George Wiley Center, and I just wanted to, this is really your opportunity to fix this broken cycle of utility terminations, and we are at that point, really. Last year, we worked with the Senate to work on a sub-A, where we brought the stakeholders together. So the PUC, the division, all of us came together. You know, you had mentioned that fee, and you know, I would agree. There's a lot of fees. And that's one of the factors that makes overall utilities quite expensive. This fee, what it would do is it would be capped at $10 a year, and so you're looking at an average between $1, $1.60 a month. But what it would allow for is for folks like Barbara, who just spoke, to be able to pay their bills, whereas right now the situation is such where utility customers subsidize for a truck to go out to someone's home to terminate them, right? Folks to stay shut off for weeks, months, even longer, then getting back into the program, signing up again, paying regressive rates like we have heard, and just being caught in this cycle. In Rhode Island, we were one of the first states to have a percentage income payment plan. Initially, that program was based on LIHEAP, and Ohio was the second. So this has been tried and tested. You know, Ohio is a swing state, right? Nevada is another state that has this program. There's really bipartisan support across the board. We looked at what would be most sustainable, and that's why we focused on the New Jersey and New Hampshire models that wouldn't be dependent on LIHEAP funding. So we're really at the point, especially during the pandemic, where people right now have had the highest energy costs because they've had students at home, some folks, you know, working at home. So this is really the moment that this has been, you know, discussed. We've done comparative studies. This is the moment to really unshackle the taxpayers from paying the burden of unfair utility shutoffs, right? Because what happens is when somebody is shut off, if you have a child over 6, those kids, if those kids go into DCYF, who pays for that, right? If a senior who's getting by living independently gets their utility shut off and then is forced to a state-sponsored nursing facility, who pays for that, right? If someone's pushed onto the streets and has to go into a shelter, or somebody has health ailments and they get shut off and they have to go to a hospital room rather than stay in their homes, who pays for that? So here we have a bill that is no cost to taxpayers. I submitted a fiscal note, is very fair. You know, it's less than an average cup of coffee that allows us to care for our neighbors and make sure that we're not subsidizing these extraordinary financial burdens of this broken cycle. But I really look forward to your support if you have any questions. But this isn't the first year we've had this here. Like I said, we significantly reworked it with stakeholders. So there's really not much that's controversial. You know, I'll personally put myself out there to, if you get any complaints of somebody that hasn't, I mean, you know, I know, for example, Senator Michael McCarthy had a constituent, and I figured out who it was. I sat down with them. You know what? They were a retired Teamster. And by the end of the conversation, they understood why it was a good investment. So, you know, I'll give you my cell phone number. If you have a constituent that you know, isn't going by the golden rule, that, you know, thinks they're going to, you know, cut their nose off to spite their face, you know, I'm happy to sit down with them and explain what I just explained, how it could save them a lot of money, even if they don't care about the hardship, which I know we all do care about the hardship, right? That is something that you can fix this session. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Speaker Pro Tem Kennedy.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the fiscal note that you provided here, and what I'm curious about is under the proposal, it would not require an assessment against people in the Pasco Utility District, which pays some of the lowest rates already in the state of Rhode Island. I wish I could get my power from Pasco Utility District. And it doesn't include the Block Island Power Company. And obviously, Block Island now has a cable that goes under, although that still is being addressed because of the shoddy work that went into that. There's poverty on Block Island. There's poverty in Pasco. I don't understand why this doesn't apply to all ratepayers in the state of Rhode Island. There should not be an exemption in there.
Well, if that's something that this body had consensus on and the other side, we certainly wouldn't interfere with that amendment. That being said, I think the idea behind the 100,000 customer threshold is around administrative issues, and to be frank, the number of terminations that we see coming. Part of the Henry Shelton Act, which you cited, is we get a monthly report around terminations, and the frequency of terminations in the Pasco region or on Black Island is just, it's not just as far as the scope, but the actual percentage of consumers is much lower. So we're
But if,
really
in
trying
fact,
to do triage and
if we're
fix.
all looking to make sure that everyone does their fair share, then everyone should do their fair share. And we're talking about a line item on a bill.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I
concur
don't,
with you.
Yeah, we
Speaker Pro Tem.
wouldn't be opposed to that if consensus, if, you know, I can't see why somebody would be. I mean, Pasco wasn't part of that meeting, so maybe that would be my only, you know, is to maybe have a conversation with
So in the
them.
past, Pasco is always, because of the fact that it isn't considered, you know, part of the national grid territory, the Narragansett Electric territory, they've always looked for some type of an exemption because they're a utility district, but the reality is there should not be an exemption here.
Yeah.
Everyone should be helping to pay their fair share in this, and again, I think there will be enough time generated for any implementation of this to allow them to reset their computers and to be able to do this, whatever it is, $1 something per month. So
That would be,
you know,
that would be wonderful to protect. I mean, that's our goal, is to protect more. If, I can't imagine why someone would now use that as a means to, you know, short circuit this whole thing. So if that would be my only concern, is if later on we heard, well, no, Pasco doesn't want to do it, so the hundreds of thousands of other customers wouldn't be protected because. But yeah, I mean, in intent, that sounds wonderful. The George Wiley Center certainly supports more people being protected, unless it means more people not being protected because Pasco people, you know, would.
Thank
so,
you.
But thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.